Good morning. Today I thought we'd take a quick look at all of the stuff that we've learned how to do on this go. Okay, so all of the 1var, 2var, graphing settings, and stuff to do with finding the regression line, which is just the trend line that goes through. So, first off, 1var. Okay, 1var, we have some data. Okay, so we're going into stat, and here's some data I prepared earlier. So, 1var, what we need to do is we need to go calc, and then there it is, there's 1var. Okay, 1var is the place for your 5-number summary. It's also the place to find things like the mean. There we go. Okay, and your standard deviation. So, and the mode, of course. So here we go. We're going to go down through the list. We've got mean is the very top number. Okay. The next number down is the sum of all of the scores. Can be useful. Next number down is the sum of all of the scores squared. Okay. If you do standard deviation by hand, you need that number. We don't need it. This one here, standard deviation. Okay, is telling us how much each score deviates from the mean. This one here, Sx, is the standard deviation if the numbers we had were a sample. Okay, now if it states that the numbers are a sample, not the whole population, then you'd use that one most of the time. Okay, and if it doesn't say anything, just default to this guy here. Okay. Next one down, n equals 5. It's the number of scores there are. Okay, that's really useful for checking that you've actually put in all of the scores. So count up how many that you had to put in, check this screen, and you can compare. Alright, starting from min, we've got our 5-number summary. Okay, minimum number, Q1, so first quartile, median is 3, 4.5 is the third quartile, and 5 is the maximum score. We know that from the minimum to Q1 is a quarter of the data. From Q1 to the median, another quarter. From the median to Q3, another quarter. And from Q3 to maximum is another quarter of the data. That's why Q1 to Q3 is important, that interquartile range, because that's 50% of the data. Next one down, mod. I don't know why they couldn't fit another letter in there to say that that's mode. Okay. The one below it, oh, look at this. Look at all of these modes. Okay. The reason it has all of these modes is because each number only gets listed once. So it's saying, oh, they were all the mode. Okay. This one, mod with an N, tells you how many modes there are. In this case, there's 5. And the mod with the F tells you the frequency of how often the mode turns up. Okay, so in this case, all of the modes, all of these numbers turn up once, so it would say 1. And that's it for 1var. Let's take that guy off. Next up, what if we had 2 lists? Okay, and 1var is done just off of list 1. If we want to change the 1var to be doing off list 2, okay, just when you go in calc, you'll see off to the side here it says set. Okay, the first option is it tells you 1var list. This is list 1. Okay, you just need to change to list 2. Enter, and then enter again, and then when you do 1var, you'll get all of your numbers except this time for list 2. So 2var. What happens if you have scatterplot data? So you've got 2 lists, and you need some of the number summaries for both lists. So click on 2var, and you get the same sort of thing. You get mean, but this time it has X. Okay, and you're going all the way down. It has but then you also have Y mean, and Y mean is list 2. Okay, that's why I find it always handy when you're doing you're reading from a table and putting it in your calculator. Make the top row of the table X, so list 1, and the bottom row list 2, which is Y. Okay. Then we can scroll down through there, and it's got all of the data for X and Y in the nice same space. Okay, same all the 5 number summary, standard deviation, same thing, just for the 2 lists instead of the 1. Now, graphing. Graphing settings. Okay, so say we want to graph this. We go graph. Okay, now you've got graph 1, 2, 3, select, and set. So you can have different settings set up for graph 1, graph 2, and graph 3. Let's check what the settings are for this. Okay, so graph 1, we've got it set as a scatter using X is list 1, Y is list 2. Okay, so let's graph it. I'll do that. This button. Okay, so we hit graph line and we get our nice scatter plot. Okay, what happens if we want to make it a box and whisker plot? Okay, well, we go back, we go set, and so then we go down to graph type, and you've got options along the bottom here, plus little arrow, it's in the little arrow, and you've got box. Okay, and it's going to do the box off of list 1. Okay, so you can change that. If you need it to go off list 2, you can just do like what we did before. Okay, hit enter, and then let's make a box and whisker plot. Now if you go arrows across, you can kind of move around, but see this word trace? Okay, trace means to follow the line. In this case, because it's a box and whisker plot, if you go shift and then trace, because you have to press to get to the yellow words, you have to press shift, we can actually highlight and scroll over where, see, scroll over where Q1, Q3, the median is. Okay, so that's doing trace. It might be useful. Alright, let's go back and make a scatter plot. Too far. There it is. Okay. Scatter plot. You can do the same thing. You can go shift, trace, and it will just let you scroll through all of the data. Okay, could be useful if you're trying to find that point, but maybe not. Okay, so that's our graphing settings. Now, regression line. Okay, so in here you've got calc. So we're going to go calc. Okay, go X, and then remember that the formula for a line is Y equals AX plus B. So we're going to use AX plus B the first one. Okay, and it tells us, hey, look at this. If I did a line through that data, A would be 2 and B would be 0. Okay, so you can then write out what the calculator's line is. You can go, okay, well, it's going to be Y equals A, which is 2, so 2X plus, and B was 0, so 0, which we could just make 2X. Okay. So if you're trying to find your calculator's equation, that's where you find it, the A and the B. R, okay, we know what R is. It's the correlation coefficient. Okay, so in this case, R equals 1, which we know is a perfect positive. Everything's in a nice straight line. As one goes up, the other one goes up the same amount. Okay, and then you can hit this draw key here, and it will draw a line through there. Okay, so you can see. That's sort of, I'll take that guy off. Oh, and one last thing that I thought was really cool, thanks to Isabel and Mariah for showing me this. If you go back to your math screen, and I wish I had this when I was using my calculator through school, because we had to retype everything. But if you made a mistake up here, say this was meant to be a takeaway and not a plus, you can scroll up, scroll sideways, press delete, and then make that take, and then hit enter, and now watch. It recalculates everything below it that used that answer. How cool is that? Okay, I was amazed. Apparently it wasn't that fancy from Isabel's perspective, but I was amazed. Good luck for your exam, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Catch up.